Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is Daily Drop number 185. We're going to talk about the reprehensible human being, or excuse for a human being, I should say, Ghislaine Maxwell tonight. And the question still remains, this far in the case, how has Ghislaine Maxwell been able to avoid justice? How has she been able to slide under the radar? How is this woman able to duck and avoid not only lawyers and officers of the court, but the media as well? Who is helping her? Why are they helping her? What is motivating people to continue to protect Ghislaine Maxwell? Last night we talked about NXIVM and how they were just completely and utterly destroyed by RICO charges. And the blueprint is there, folks, right? The same blueprint that was used to go after NXIVM, that blueprint, that template can be used to go after Jeffrey Epstein's remaining associates. You've seen how quickly all of the people who were facing RICO charges, which carry 20-year sentences per sentence, you see how quick they were to turn on each other. You see how quick everybody was coming forward to rat out Keith Raniere. If you think the same wouldn't occur in this case, you're wrong. And who knows where it will lead. Again, I have to say it again. If you follow the drugs, you're going to end up back at the drug dealer. But if you follow the money, you never know where you're going to end up. And that's the same thing in this case, right? If they follow the money, if they really go hard charging and they follow all of the money and all of the transactions and they have witnesses who actually know about these transactions that might not have been on the books, etc., the sky is the limit for what the government can come up with when they're looking to charge you, when they're looking to sink your ship. We all know that the federal government is really, really good at prosecuting people. And not only that, they're really good at convicting people as well. The government will drag their feet. The government will do everything possible to make it difficult for you as a defendant, and especially when the government is using tools such as RICO. And that is exactly what they did to NXIVM. They had them all. They all pleaded guilty to charges of racketeering from the Bronfmans on down. And that is the same exact template that should be used here in the Epstein case. And the fact that it has not been used yet, it's beyond me why it has not been used yet. It's beyond me why the prosecution has not used the bazooka that they're holding in reserve. I think the time for holding anything in reserve in this case has come and passed. I think that the evidence is there. I think the blueprint is laid for you, and all we need now is a prosecutor with the fortitude to do their job and charge hard and not be afraid of what might become of this case, meaning what might come out during discovery, who might be exposed as part of it. Because guess what? The public has a right to know. The public has a right to know who was involved with Jeffrey Epstein when it comes to this trafficking ring. Who was he involved with financially? It's a big deal because we're not talking about, the average Tom, Dick, or Harry here. We're talking about people that actually have an impact on our lives, whether it be financially or as our elected officials, etc., etc. So this case is very important for there to be transparency, not only for the people who live in the country or around the world, but especially for the survivors, so they can understand that all of this blood, sweat, and tears, all this hard road that they have walked for all of these years, most of the time alone, mind you, has not been for nothing, right? And the beginning of that, to show them that, is arresting all of these people. It is time. It is time for the prosecutors to stop kicking the can down the road. It is time for the prosecutors to bite down on their mouthpiece, take the center of the octagon, and start throwing blows. This article we're going to read tonight is from The Sun. The headline is, Sex Abuse Victims Ask Court to Order Prince Andrew's Friend Ghislaine Maxwell to Reveal Whereabouts. The author of the article is James Beal. Sex abuse survivors have asked a court to order Ghislaine Maxwell to reveal her whereabouts after a team of private detectives private detectives failed to track her down. How is that even possible? You have private detectives that are good at what they do, right? And I'm sure that the lawyers for the survivors aren't hiring some, lame-ass private investigator that doesn't know their business. I'm sure that they have relationships with really good private investigators. Now, how does a private citizen like Ghislaine Maxwell hide herself from all of these people that are looking for her? How is that even possible? How can you say to yourself, looking at this case, that, oh yeah, I believe that she's able to hide herself because she's just good at that? There has to be some people or persons who are helping her hide from the law, helping her hide from lawyers, helping her hide from lawsuits, helping her hide from justice. And when this is all said and done, and those people are exposed as well, they need to be brought in and questioned as well, what their part in this all was. Are they aiding and abetting? Who knows, right? And if it's a RICO case, well, then they definitely have whoever she was living with, no doubt about that. So this needs to be talked about a little more, right? How is she hiding? How does the federal government not know where she is? How do these private investigators, how are they not able to find her? How is the lawyers for the girls, with all of their power and their smarts and their know-how, not able to track Ghislaine Maxwell down to even serve her? Yet her own lawyers play the game, acting like they don't know where she is either, and they expect us to believe that. Pretty sad the way that these people find the loopholes in the justice system, huh? Pretty sad the way they're able to skate by with a wink and a nudge. The socialite, co-conspirator, accused of being the pimp of sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, co-conspirator, has not been seen since last summer when the billionaire beast supposedly killed himself in prison. Maxwell, a close friend of Prince Andrew, is being investigated by the FBI over allegations that she procured girls for Epstein and is also being sued by a number of his victims. Yeah, she didn't just procure girls for Epstein. See, this is, we shouldn't expect more out of a tabloid like The Sun, because at the end of the day, that's what it is, a tabloid rag, right? So we know that the people writing the articles aren't, they're not going to win any awards, okay? But this kind of stuff cracks me up, that she procured girls for Epstein. We know it's a lot more than that. We know it's a lot deeper than that. So let's just be honest, right? Let's call her what she is, Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator. Now lawyers for Annie Farmer, who claims that Maxwell and Epstein molested her, have filed court papers claiming that the Brit has implied she is no longer a resident of New York. That's interesting. I wonder where she's a resident of now. Maybe she's just homeless, right? She wants us to believe her sob story. You know what? Things are so bad for Ghislaine Maxwell. She's now a hobo, and she's hopping trains in at various train yards through the pandemic. She just doesn't care. She's such a living on the road now, and she's such a hobo and a homeless encampment person that, we should all just feel bad for her. She's no longer a resident of New York. She's a resident of the road. What does any of that even mean, okay? She's no longer a resident of New York. Okay, where is she a resident of? Her attorneys add, in papers seen by The Sun, that the court should require her to provide the factual basis for the argument by testifying at an evidentiary hearing. I mean, is that too much to ask? To have this lady appear? I mean, is she so special that she doesn't even have to appear before the court? She can just, do whatever she wants, make her own rules up, just like her boy Jeffrey used to? How is this possible? She's not even a citizen of the United States, for Lord's sake. And here she is, making up her own rules, beating to her own drum. Must be nice to have that sort of life. I mean, I guess it's nice to be the aristocracy of the modern age. Because normal people don't act like this. Normal people aren't able to avoid hearings. These judges make rulings without you there. Next thing you know, you have a ruling where you were, getting sued for $4,000. You don't show up. Next thing you know, you owe $9,000. Not her. She does whatever she wants, folks. The attempt to draw Maxwell, 58, into revealing her address comes after another Epstein survivor, Jennifer Araz, said private investigators could not find her either. Again, how is that even possible? If she's in the United States, how is it possible, with all of the tools available in the year 2020, that private investigators are not able to track her down? Maybe we should get together a GoFundMe and hire Dog the Bounty Hunter to chase her down. Mr. Oz claims Maxwell participated in a sex trafficking ring with Epstein, but her lawyers grew frustrated at not being able to serve the accomplice with court papers. Not accomplice, co-conspirator. I guess accomplice is a little bit better than madam or procurer of girls. All right, accomplice at least implies that she was, complicit in the crimes being committed. So that's a step in the right direction, son. All right? It's definitely a step in the right direction. But the fact that Jennifer Oraz claims that Maxwell was involved in the sex trafficking ring with Epstein, she says it herself. How many of these girls have to say it before the prosecution takes this seriously? How many times have we seen the prosecutors for state and federal take a lot less evidence than this and go batshit crazy with it? Why don't we see that in this case? Why is this case not being treated the same way like the Nexium case was treated? Why aren't the bazookas being brought out? Why is Ghislaine Maxwell being allowed to obfuscate and drag her feet? In a court filing, they said that Oraz has made repeated efforts to locate Miss Maxwell, including retaining private investigators to conduct surveillance to no avail. Again, I'm perplexed, honestly. If there are any private investigators out there listening to this show that, know the ins and outs of the business and how things go in that sort of intelligence gathering scenario, shoot me an email and let me know what the deal is, because I'm pretty ignorant to how all of that stuff works. But I would think that a licensed private investigator has tools that the rest of us don't have, and probably has contacts at the police stations and with the federal authorities in some cases, right? A lot of these PIs are ex-law enforcement. So you would think that these PIs would be able to track down someone, right? Even somebody powerful. But yet here is Ghislaine Maxwell, doesn't have a job, no income coming in that we know of, right? But yet she's being protected by who knows who. And she's able to avoid facing justice. She's able to somehow skirt the system still, all these decades later, when everybody knows exactly what she is. She's been exposed for what she is, and yet somehow prosecution doesn't have enough evidence to initiate an arrest. The Sun has offered a £10,000 reward for information leading to us successfully making direct contact with Maxwell in person. Sources close to her claim she is being forced to move from safe house to safe house because of death threats. She has been linked to countries all over the world, including the U.S., the Caribbean, Brazil, France, and Israel. The more I hear about private investigators not being able to find her, the more convinced I am that she might not even be in the U.S. at this point. Where she is, that's anyone's guess. I'm not going to speculate. I have no idea. It could be any country where she has contacts, and that could literally be anywhere, right? When you're a power player on the stage that she's been on for all of these years, well, you make some contacts in some faraway places. So who the hell knows where she is, or where she has her new life getting ready to be set up under new identification? Who the hell knows with these people, right? I don't put anything past them. All I know is this. If she is in the United States and the court is looking for her and the lawyers for the survivors are looking for her, everybody's looking for her and nobody can find her, including private investigators, I have a hard time believing that she's in the United States if that's the case. So I'm going to have to do some more research on that and figure out one way or the other where I come down on her location, because up until recently, until I've really started thinking about it, I just, I find it hard to believe that she's able to hide in the United States at this point. I find it very difficult to believe. Now, like I said, somewhere outside of the States, the sky is the limit at that point. But there are so many tools available to investigators here in the United States, and so many of these private eyes have contacts within law enforcement, that I find it very difficult to believe that Ghislaine Maxwell would be this hard to track down. Unless, of course, you look at the big picture. Unless, of course, you've been putting the pieces of the puzzle together for all of these months, and in some cases, for some of you listeners out there, all of these years. When you do that and you look at the whole entire thing in context, then you understand just exactly why they can't find her. Just exactly why she's being hidden. And, the reality of it is, if you follow the evidence to where it's taking us, it's a very unnerving reality. Nobody wants to think about that. Nobody wants to think about the fact that the intelligence agencies of the major players around the world are capable of setting up this sort of blackmail operation using young girls as bait because it's a means to an end. It's a very uncomfortable thing to think about. It sounds like the plot from a novel. But unfortunately, folks, this is the reality that we've been handed. This is what our eyes have been opened up to, and we cannot close them and forget what we have seen. The curtain has been pulled back, and we have gotten a good, hard look at what goes on in the darkness of the room. And if we don't stand up, and we don't call it out, and we don't tell these people that they will not be able to continue doing what they are doing, right, pretty much right under our noses, if we don't call them out and we don't stand up as one, as literally the whole nation should be standing up together and telling these people this is unacceptable. If we don't do that and we don't choose to stand up for the most vulnerable amongst us and those who have had their voices taken from them, then we're no better than these people that turn their back, right? And that's not going to occur. We're not going to stop until there is some justice here. We're not going to stop until there's some transparency. We're not going to stop until these prosecutors quit kicking the can down the road and step up to the plate and chase down scoundrels like Ghislaine Maxwell, no matter what hole they are hiding in. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All right, everybody, I will be back tomorrow with our usual schedule. Until then, have a great night.